Hello, this is Debbie with Light Up Your Worth. I am so happy to be coming back to you and that you're joining me. My next guest today is going to be Daniel Jackson. And man, oh man, are you in for a surprise treat? Really a surprise treat. First of all, he's a man. And if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I developed this to bring on women and show women, right? Daniel is not a woman. No, if you can see us visually on the YouTube, he's shaking his head. No. And so, as you know, I usually introduce how we met. So, Daniel is friends with another one of my friends, and she had him on her podcast, and I thought, oh my gosh, Tammy Morrison, who has also been one of my guests, if you'd like to go catch her, she was actually my very first podcast guest. If you want to go back and meet Tammy, and she's was like, this is a deal breaker. You need to meet him. You need to talk to him. And so since then, we've had multiple conversations, and it's always a delight and a surprise. And I always find out more information even about myself. And so I am delighted, excited to have you on, Daniel. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me on today, Debbie. I'm glad to be here. I don't know why I'm talking in such a soft voice. I'm trying to bring that feminism back in, but no, not feminine. I do love women, and I like good-looking blondes. That's one of the other reasons why I'm here. But I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, yeah, you're so funny. Yeah, we've been talking before we hit the play button, and yeah, I got a couple new jokes from my arsenal here that
Yay.
I'll have to use at a dinner party the next time I go to a social gathering. I got some really good ones, so
They will work.
I am really excited that we were able to connect, Daniel, in so many different ways. We've had some really frank conversations, and you have shared some of your story with me. And so as you're very much familiar with the podcast, you know that I start out every episode with hearing about what people feel comfortable with sharing along their spiritual journey. So I would love for you to share uh, the message that you would like to share with my audience, the women who are primarily women who are joining and listening to the podcast about your journey and how we ended up here talking.
The journey began, when I was a kid, I saw spirit my entire life. Grew up in a house that was in New Jersey, near a battlefield, saw all kinds of spirit there. Everyone in the area did. And then my parents and I moved from New Jersey to Delaware, and I was the only one continuing to see things, and just saw spirit in every imaginable place that you could go. They were everywhere. And this lasted all the way throughout my life, all the way up until right before my 50th birthday. My wife went away on vacation to see her daughter for 2 weeks. And when she did, I saw everything at this house that you can imagine that was scary. And I mean, scary. Okay. Like green and red mist coming out of the walls with skulls floating out of the walls, and they all had red eyes and fangs. 7-foot skeletons walking around the room, just crazy stuff. Saw a cloud form above the bed, and these two skeleton arms came out of this window of blackness, and I pulled the body out, and the skeleton stared at me and looking at me, all kinds of crazy stuff. But what it turned out to be was they were testing me to see if I was going to move forward with this, or was I going to push it away. And me being me, I knew I couldn't just push it away. So I sought out some help. Had a paranormal group come to my house. They got so scared they didn't want to come back to my house. They saw so much stuff here. Um, and then I'm trying to make it a short story. And then I sought out some mediums, found 5 different ones, and each one that I saw, none of them knew each other, and they all told me the same story about me. One in particular saying that when I first walked in the room and she saw me come in, she could just feel my energy. She said I look like she closed her eyes and she could see me, my energy, more than she sees regular other people's energy. And she told me that I have an ability to see spirit, but and all the other stuff. But the reason I was seeing so many is because they're coming to me. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, this is all right, I guess. And I said, why are they coming to me? And she said, well, they believe you're the light into heaven. And I was like, gotcha. What do I do with that? So I don't know what I do with that, but she said you either have to accept this gift or push it away. And I said, how do I do that? She said, you basically have to have a sit down talk with God or the higher power, whatever you want to call it. But God is neither he or she. God just is. So uh, I said, okay. My wife and I went home, had a discussion about it. I went into the bedroom, had a talk with God because you can do that. You don't have to go to a big white building with a bunch of other people and sit and talk to God. You can talk to God anytime you want to. Why? Because we're all His children. That's why. And so I had to talk with him. And then the very next day, everything started to change. And within a few months, all those scary things went away. And everything has progressed. I would say I would start seeing more faces, hearing things, smell things. I mean, my dad's spirit comes through every once in a while, and when he does, I can smell his cologne that he has on. That's Stetson. My grandfather comes through. I can smell peppermint. My mom just recently passed away about 2.5 months ago, and it was maybe a week or two afterwards. I came home and I walked in my room and I could smell roses because my mom loved roses. And then just yesterday, I was here and I could smell Chanel number 5, and she wore that a long time ago, so I remember that. So, but that's what the spirit can do. They are pure energy. They can make these things happen for us, so we can pay attention to all this stuff. So yeah, so I've had this ability all my life, but I didn't know why. I never did put two and two together. And now that it was pointed out, and now that I had to say yes to this gift or no, that's what I did. I said yes, and then everything has changed since then. And it started out very slow. The very first year was not easy. It was pretty hard getting used to finding out how this gift works for me. And because the way it works for all mediums, it's all different because it just each person is different. The body's different. And so I was getting all these messages, and now I get them. I started off with um, everyone has spirit guides, and my spirit guides happen to be archangels. The reason I have them is because my main gift is I cross spirit over into the light. So they actually do come to me, and then I do cross them over into the light. But the light that I'm crossing them over into is me. And to explain that real quick, the light that shines for spirit to cross over into heaven has to be within a physical body. The reason being because two reasons. One, so it can shine continuously and they can just cross over into the light, or sometimes the lost ones need to be crossed over physically. So I see them. I see everything, people, dogs, cats, fishes, cows, horses, giraffes, everything. And they come up to me and they look at me, and sometimes they walk up and poke me and pinch me and touch me. And when I feel that, or if I see them around me, because I have my eyes closed a lot and I look around, or in a dark room, I see more of them. It's like in a dark room for me, it's like being in a room with 1,000 people, except no one leaves and more people just kept coming in. And I see them and I tell them, I ask them, do you want to cross over? Some of them say yes. A lot of them say no for lots of reasons, because we can get into that later. But they don't all want to cross over, but a lot of them do. So I tell them what to do, how to get there, and what to do next. And but because I'm able to do that, I have to ask a lot of questions for them, answer a lot of questions for them. And when I do that, I'm asking my spirit guides or archangels who are telling me all these answers. And because I can do that, I can ask questions for anybody about anything. And that's so I do readings for people, but that's not my main role here. My main role here is to teach people why we are here. What is our purpose? What are we supposed to be doing now? What are we supposed to be doing next? What are we supposed to be doing or going to be doing after this? That's what I'm here for.
Wow. So much of that was new, right? Like we hadn't talked about um, previously in our discussions. We hadn't talked about how
It's
you
a
got
lot, buddy.
here, and it was a lot. So I didn't realize even that the animals came came
Yeah,
to
when
you.
if I go to my wife and I will take our cats to the veterinary's office. If I close my eyes, I see dogs and cats and everything just walking around. Because a lot of them don't realize they have passed away, and yeah, they are lost. And so I go to the veterinarian's office and I start crossing dogs and cats and fish and everything, birds, all kinds of stuff. I see everything. I see absolutely everything. Like I said, being that light that shines. Because when I do readings for people, they always like to ask how many times they've been here. And I talked to a guy yesterday who I was talking, and he asked me how many times have I been here, and I said 33 times. And he's like 33. I'm like, yeah, that's actually a lot for a person. But my soul keeps coming back over and over and over again. It's been here over 23,000 times. It's been here since the beginning. But this is the last time. It doesn't have to go back and be this anymore because things aren't working out for us here on Earth. So, but that's a little bit of ways away, but not very far. Um, but yeah, so I'm able to get these answers, and yeah, I found out he was here 33 times, and he wasn't too happy about that. I'm not too happy about that either because the reason you keep coming back over and over and over again is because you don't fulfill your purpose enough. You do it throughout each lifetime, but they want us to do it more. They want us to learn something and fulfill this purpose, and they want us to do that quickly and without having to do it a gazillion times. But not everybody learns lessons very well. I mean, everything you do in your life is a lesson. But if you walk through a door and there's a nail on the floor and you trip over that nail, you may be someone who learns that lesson very quickly and goes and gets a hammer and bangs that nail back in. Or you may be one of those people who just continuously trips over the nail. And that's how your life is. You either learn lessons very well or you don't. I mean, because there's only there's only two things in your life. That's it. There's no mistakes, there's no wrong, there's no right, there's no epic failures. There are only what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And if it doesn't work for you, quit doing it. It's very simple, but not everybody does. People what we call makes mistakes over and over and over again. They're just tripping over the nail over and over and over again because they can't get it. I know how it is. I worked in prison for 6 years. I was around all these guys who are in prison. Those guys continuously just trip over the nail. Why? Because they haven't figured out that they're not good criminals. That's why. Very
they,
simple.
they might want to get, I
They
would
don't
say
get it.
improve their trade, but that's
Yeah.
not probably
If
something we want to encourage.
yeah, if they were good, not the training part, yeah, but if they learned the lesson correctly, the correct answer would be stop stealing from other people, stop being a criminal. You don't have to do this, but we do this by choosing to do it with our own free will. Make better choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And some lessons as we're learning them are take us a little bit more time
They're
to
harder.
learn, right? Some
Yeah,
of them are
yeah. Do you know
harder
why they're harder?
lessons. Yeah.
Do you
I mean,
know
I know that for myself.
yeah, do you know why they're harder?
No, why are they hard?
Because before you came into this body, your soul chose this body. And the previous life that it was here, well, you were told you had to come back again. And those previous lessons that you learned, you didn't learn it enough because you have to go back again. So you chose another body that you knew was going to have harder lessons. Hopefully you'll get it right this time.
I
Very
think I
simple.
have. I think I,
Yeah.
well, I know I have this time, right? Like there was a
Yeah. Oh
pretty big
yeah. We already
lesson.
talked about that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
talked about it.
Yeah.
So
This
that,
is your last time.
yeah. Um, yes. And the number of times that it took for me to learn this lesson that took me through my 30s, um,
Yeah.
that I learned and completely really changed so much about my life to where I am today. Um, and know that I'm on purpose. Like I am on purpose. The work I'm
Yes.
doing, having this podcast, having my coaching healing business, um, is all on purpose and
Helping
w-
people.
helping people
Yep.
uh, heal themselves,
Yes,
see
as
their
they
own
can.
worth. But I had to really get that lesson.
Sure.
As I have a friend who used to tell me that, are you still gonna, you're knocking your head into this brick wall, you're bleeding. Are you ever gonna stop hitting your head against this brick wall? And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Your
I,
friend knew it.
he knew.
That's a good friend for at least telling you that, right? Making
Yeah,
you aware of it. They were aware of it, so now they had to make you aware of it.
yeah, yeah, it for sure. And now after, 20 years, I think it's been about 20 years ago since I stopped beating my head against that brick wall. And when I see them every year, of course, we reminisce about the good things during that period of time of life, but also like, oh, we're so grateful that you stopped beating your head against that wall. Like, you're
I
just so
think
much
that
happier.
yeah, that friend should give you, like, for Christmas every year, like, a brick.
Yeah, you know what? He probably would.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
that kind of he's that kind of guy. Yeah.
after 20 years, you would have been able to build yourself a brick wall.
I should have, right? And now, I should have filmed it and put it out there.
Right.
Mm. So which kind of naturally leads us to, and I was people being on purpose. You know, how how many people who are listening are really, we started to touch on it too about being on purpose, because it may not be what we're doing day to day. And so your
No,
life,
it's normally not, and people think that their purpose is maybe, raising my children or being a doctor, a lawyer, being a basketball player or teacher. Actually, I mean, that may be the vehicle to doing your purpose, but is that your actual purpose? No. You that's just the vehicle to get you where you need to be to fulfill your purpose. But yeah, I mean, it's part of it, but it's not the do all reason of what your purpose is. Your purpose isn't, to be LeBron James and be a basketball player. It's just no, no.
yeah, I know mine wouldn't be. I'm only 5'5", but um,
Perfect height. Mm,
and I'm suck at basketball too. But I like how you said that too about it is the actual how or what it is, some title, right? You go off and you go to
yeah,
school, and it's not necessarily being like the doctor who goes and it could be that you actually go and discover something, or you are something greater, the amount of people that you're able to touch or help or heal,
right.
right?
That's the important
Versus,
part, the touching and reaching out to them and helping. Yeah, because the purpose is very simple, so simple that God made it simple for all of us to so that we could all fulfill the purpose. Because not everybody is meant to be a basketball player or a doctor or a policeman or a lawyer or a teacher. So he wanted us to be for all of us to be able to fulfill this without any problems. I mean, and the one thing that people should remember is it's just not them. Like I said, you're here back again because you have to fulfill your purpose. Everyone who's out in the world, all they have to do is look at everyone else. And when you see everyone else in the world, they too have all been to heaven and they all had to come back because all of them didn't fulfill their purpose either. So no one's alone in this. We're all and that's why because we're here to do this purpose thing together. It's not about just you. Because if you make it all about you and you use your ego to make it all about you, or you think your purpose is going to be something special to make yourself more popular or more famous than someone else, then no, that's not your purpose either. You're using your ego. That's what you're doing. And you need to stop doing that shit because it doesn't get you anywhere. What you need to do is what we all need to do. Our purpose is simple. We are here to help each other, but just for the sake of helping it, not because it's going to make you money, not because it's going to make you more famous. You're going to do it because just because you can, just because you should, just because. But it's going to be a physical thing. People are going to come up to you and say, hey, Debbie, I need your help. I'm lost. But it's up to you to use your free will to decide whether or not you're going to do that, or in some other type of physical way, like you reaching out and helping people to get their self worth again. When you're doing those types of things, you're helping them. This is something they were not able to do on their own, and you are out there helping them to achieve this themselves, to get this themselves. And when you do that, then you're fulfilling your purpose. But is it out there showing your ass all day long, looking like you're trying to be Kim Kardashian? No, she doesn't care about you. Why
No.
should you care about her?
Yeah.
Ego.
Yeah.
Stop that ego stuff.
Yeah. Right. Like,
Kim
yeah. I mean,
Kardashian is
I don't actually ever wanted to look like her, but
yeah.
um, she's
She could be a good person
beautiful.
too, but she chooses not to be a good person. She chooses to use her ego to run her life. At this point right now, until she changes, she's coming back.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Oh,
She'll learn it again.
and I want to dig a little bit more around how it's been made so simple, and maybe this is way too simple, right? And from our conversations that I'm all about unicorns and the butterflies and the puppy dogs, because
Yeah.
especially if it's a pit bull, I love those dogs, biggest hearts, and and keep myself in the light because I can easily
Right.
go down this really sad place
Yeah.
with the dark stuff. I can't get caught up in the
Well,
stuff. I
it's
don't
it's
watch
easy to go
news.
down that because the world lures us into it. That's why
And
we have to turn it around. We have to stop teaching each other that we can do that. Sure.
I have to purposely, control my environment, control who I'm around, who I allow in to my environment.
But you're
But
doing that.
yeah, yeah, I've gotten
That's the
really good
important
at
part.
it.
You're doing it. Not a lot of people do.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting all the people that I lead that come into my life, or you meet them at some random places, and you're like, wow, what was that? Um, Whether I meet them online, or how we met, or how recent people that I've met into my life, girlfriends, male friends, and but getting back to the purpose, because I'll get off topic there real quick, is that get distracted again, run out of gas somewhere random. And
Meet some strange guy. It's awesome.
yeah, right. Meet some strange guy at some really twist of coincidences that was no coincidence.
No
And
coincidence.
just settling with it. So he'll know when he hears this podcast.
He will.
But is that this purpose thing? And I like to take stuff that's complex and make it simple for myself and my own application in
Good for
this
you.
life experience.
True. Good.
And that's what I did in my professional career, um, out there in corporate America, changing the world in my way, and now changing it differently. So when I think about our life purpose, that it's not necessarily like the vehicle that you're talking about. You're this famous person, you're um, whatever it is, but that those are vehicles. But at the true essence of all of our purposes, isn't all of our purpose somehow linked to that we are here to help each other,
Yeah, absolutely.
be of service
Yeah.
to each other, and not from the expectations of what we get out of it in the end.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And even with just my regular life, I don't have expectations anymore. I just go, because if I have too many expectations, then if anyone has too many expectations, and they don't meet those expectations, whew, that's a word for me. Then we get disappointed. And who are we getting disappointed in? We're getting disappointed in ourselves, but it was ourselves who set these high expectations. So if you don't set them, you don't have to worry about them. Just move forward. Just keep moving forward, and don't worry about what's behind you. But yeah, we are. Yeah, we're here to take care of each other. We could take care of each other because I mean that's the real reason why my main man Jesus was here. Not that I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, but I do believe in God and I do believe in Jesus, because Jesus was just like me. He was a man, as we're all men and women. And he was here to let us know that we could all live together as free men and women, take care of each other, share everything in the world, and not have to pay for anything. There doesn't need to be any leaders. We just have to, you know, depend on some people to do one job and another person to do another job, but no one's going to be telling anybody else what to do just because they need to. They feel they need to do that. It's just we could take care of each other. We could all do this all the time. But what happened was a long time ago, the people who saw Jesus trying to rally the people up together to do that, they took control of the situation. They stuck him on a cross, tortured the shit out of him, and murdered him in front of everybody. And to let them know, if you do this, we're going to do this to you too. And that's why he was here. He wasn't. He didn't die for anybody's sins because he was created from God, from a part of him, which makes his soul a divine soul. Just like everyone who's listening to this, you were created the same way. You are a divine soul. You don't do anything wrong. We just are in a world that has rules and laws and all this other crap created by the people who are in power, the kings, the queens, all that stuff. Yeah. I mean, you know, we they put the narrative out there for us to listen to. They are the ones who are in control of everything, and they let what happen sometimes, and other things that happen, they don't let it happen. I mean, everybody's out there, screaming and yelling at each other now about the old slavery stuff a long time ago. Well, no one has said anything about the Olympics. I mean, what is the Olympics? The Olympics is games that were created by kings and queens as entertainment and performed by slaves. And we still have the Olympics. And it's all based on that. But no one's protesting that because, all the countries get involved and it's all about the competition. But no, it's not. We don't have to compete with each other. We don't have to do any of that stuff. We don't have to segregate ourselves from ourselves. We don't have to put walls up around. We all live on the same planet. No one is going anywhere anytime soon, so we better get along with each other before we start to annihilate each other over letting those people control our lives. We don't need to do that.
No, that's a really interesting point, Daniel, is that I've noticed almost like this last year, I would say in a lot of the spiritual communities that I'm a part of, you know, that are online for the most part, especially last year, was that there seemed to have been um, this, I don't want to say divide, that's probably too strong of a word, but there's like been these two different types of minds of people that I've met. And most of them, like myself, the part of the mindset that I'm part of is that there's plenty of people who need us all to help them heal, to help them
Yes.
find their way, help them find their. For me, it's helping um, primarily women find their own worth and really and shine their own internal light out. And as that light shines out, it ripples out for other people to heal
Yeah.
their own traumas, their own generational traumas that they've carried. Um, Not even going into all the past lifetimes that they've been here, but just even at this lifetime, what they've inherited through their DNA, and
Sure.
to really heal the world as almost like a stone in a water where it ripples out and it helps more people. And so the groups that I've seen more of is that how many people are on this earth? I mean, I'm in the US, so how many people are in the US? It's a pretty large number. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. Is it 52 million, 48 million? It's quite substantial. And
Too many.
so if I am able to touch a million people by 6 degrees,
Right.
there's a lot of room for a lot of us, right? Or
Yeah.
even if
You
it's
became part of the solution instead of part of the problem.
or even if it's 200,000 people that I'm able to touch over the next 15, 20 years, then there's still plenty of room. And we can all
Right.
work with each other. We help each other through it because we're
Right.
still
Because
having a life experience.
whatever you tell them they're going to tell someone else as well.
And so this competition, even with people who are trying to help each other, like all of a sudden
Oh
everybody's a
boy.
coach, right?
Yeah.
And I've been a coach for 20 years, and yeah, it's really getting a lot of steam, a lot of movement now, which is a good thing, to have forward movement. But um, it's just so interesting. And then there's the other mindset of, well, there's the scarcity mindset of, oh, we do the exact same things. And I'm like, well, good. I'll help promote you. It doesn't hurt me. This podcast, right? Like
Right.
I talk about, I'm highlighting you when everybody else does. I mean, in a natural conversation, it comes out what I do, but it's not my purpose for the podcast at all. I mean, people want to work with me, great, but that's not why I created it.
No, but the purpose of it is why you created it.
Yeah,
Because it because we are able to reach a broader, wider variety of places to get out there to for everyone to hear it. And everyone has an opportunity to hear it, which is good, you know. Um, and it can't just be one person. I mean, that was already tried one time, and they killed him for it. So it needs to be spread out all over the place. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we all get involved. We can't just sit back, and sit home all day and eat bonbons with our thumb up our butt watching Netflix all day. That doesn't help anything in the world. The only way the message is going to get out is if we all do it collectively. But like you just said, it doesn't need to be a competition. We need to come together to help everyone. But that's always an issue. It seems. Everybody's. You go on. I go on a lot of the podcasting groups, and there's always the scammers coming in there, or someone trying to, oh, I can help you do this, and I can help you do this for $10,000. It's
yeah,
like, most of the people that I know that are on these podcasting groups, don't have $10,000 to start a podcast. They're starting it doing with their phone, and a little tiny microphone that they got online for $5, and but at least they're trying, and that's the important part. But yeah, the whole competition, or I saw this guy. I while doing so I go out and do readings for people. I don't charge a lot of money when I do that, uh, because I just don't have to, and I don't want to, because I want people to get the information just because they need it. But when I was doing that, I was going out and doing these workshops where I sit in front of a group of like 50, 100 people and talk to them, tell them why we're here, what our purpose is. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try to get out more to do that as well. I would like to get out in front of other crowds. It's just I'm the talker guy. I need someone who's going to get me into places. I'm not that. I can't book myself. I can't do that. I need to just concentrate on doing what I'm doing to helping the people. I got to find, I guess, a manager or a booker, whatever I got to do. I'll find it. I don't know. It'll come along when it's supposed to. But I saw this thing with this guy. It was talking about doing a TEDx thing, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome!" And he had this seminar and this webinar. Hate webinars, man. I just fall asleep at every one of them. But I figured I'll keep myself awake for this. And I did. And but what it came down to is this guy would coach me to do TEDx. But the things I didn't like about it was he was going to teach me how to talk differently. I don't need that. I know how to talk to people. I've done it a bunch of times. Um, and he was going to change the way I did my presentation, and I don't want that either, because when you take away from the presentation, it's going to take away too much. But what it came down to was he was going to do all this for $6,400. I was like, holy crap, just to you to tell me how to talk to people, which I already know how to do, and change my speech, what I already know how to do. I but and then he wasn't the only one. There's a bunch of them. And they think that if you get a TEDx speech, they want you to think this is the most important thing that's ever going to happen in your lifetime. But only to TEDx people. I don't want to just reach TEDx people. We have to be able to reach everybody, because a lot of the TEDx people are just the elite, and we don't need to be talking to the elite. How do I know that? Because the elite is what got us into the mess we're in now. We need to reach everybody. Podcasting is a perfect way to do that, because your average Joe or your average Janet is watching podcasts. We're going to be able to do much more this way. So when you doing this is a perfect way for you to reach your type of audience, these women who do need these help. So I mean, A plus to you for just trying to do that. Because not everybody, I see so many podcasts out there that are still, it's all about doing a comedy show or, you know, we're done with that. We need to fix this place. And the only people who are going to do that are the ones who are willing to do that. But that has to be all of us, not just a couple of us, but it's got to start somewhere. That's why when Tammy told me about you, I was like, yeah, I want to talk to her because she's like me. She wants to do something about it. More of us need to be in that frame of mind. And that's why I'm glad to be here because you're making a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Um,
And you're really good looking. It's the other part.
yeah. Well, thank you. the um, it's so interesting that you say stuff like that because most of the people listening are women over 40, right? More in the 40 to 65 range. And when we think about like physical beauty with women, it really does tie in a lot with their worth. The interesting thing is that I am much thicker than I was, say, 20 years ago. And I'm in
You
my mid
say it like it's a
50s.
bad thing because it's not,
Well,
But
it's
that's not what I base everything on either too. I mean, we have talked prior to this, and I want to be able to talk to someone like when I met my wife, I want to be able to talk to someone who can also keep up their end of the conversation. Like I said, if I wanted a Barbie doll, I'd go to Toys R Us and play with one. I don't want that. I want a real person, someone who's going to talk to me, have their own views on things. And if we're in a crowd of people somewhere, I don't have to keep butting in and standing up for my wife because she can take care of herself. She can do it herself. She doesn't need, me to go, oh, well, you need to stop talking to my wife like that. Why? I just stand back and go ahead, honey. You know,
right,
that's
right,
what I want. That's what men want. If you want to play with a toy, eh, I gave up toys when I was 7. I'm not 7 anymore. So
right. Well, I think what's so important for women to understand is that if I was to do that comparison with myself, I can't own who I am. I can't own the worth and the value that I know simply by loving and accepting the changes. That's actually part of owning our own worth. It's part of shining our light is how we are right now and not continually looking back or feeling bad about, oh yeah, back then maybe I didn't have crow's feet, right? But it doesn't matter what lotion I'm using, but that our worth isn't really based upon this or
no,
parts that we're doing or
it's what's inside that.
Mhm. And I think that's where the worth has come from. And I think now, at this point in my life, um, when I get a compliment, I honestly think, yeah, I am beautiful. Not from a vanity point of view for women, but that I'm owning who I am right now, and that is what is actually showing through versus all of this exterior stuff.
Oh yeah. Well, me speaking to you, when I first met you and talked to you, I said, "Oh, she's got something to say." And that, when I see a woman, we're attracted to each other. People are attracted to each other, that type of thing.
Mhm.
But when they start talking about things and they have a sense of humor and there's some depth in there, then I'm not even looking at the looks part of it. And now I'm like, okay, I'm in because now she's got me, now she's she's got something to really say, and not just it's not just one conversation. It's about, anywhere you go, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, and wherever you are in the world, and they have something to say. Because why do they have something to say? Because they're just like me. They're human beings. We all have something to say. We are all good enough to do absolutely anything we want to do in this world. We just have to have faith in that. That's all. And we have the issue here. We have lost the true value in this world. We have lost the true value, which is us, and we have to find that value again, and then also find that faith that we need to have for ourselves, be able to find that value. But the world has brainwashed us, has more or less wiped us clean, thrown a big giant bucket of bleach over top of us and sanitized us, and then threw a bunch of self doubt on top of that because they want us to believe that we are, not worth anything. And then, but don't worry, you can come back to us, even though we were the ones who told you this. We want you to come back to us and we'll take care of you. No, we don't need them to take care of us. We don't need to rely on the rest of the world to take care of us. The ad campaigns of you need this and we need to give you that. And the only way you're going to get healed is by us. Maybe I don't need to be really that healed. I can take care of this myself. I'm not as broken as you say I am. You just want me to remain broken so I can continue to go to your doctors and your therapists. We don't need to do that. We can take care of it ourselves because it is within ourselves. It was in us. It was in us when we got here, when you were born. We just relinquished the power, let them strip it away from us. Stop.
Yes, yes. I've heard this from many people I've either met as friends or have had worked with them, is this notion that this brokenness, and I believe everybody's whole and complete. Do we all have stuff that we could work on and improve about ourselves? Of
Sure.
course, that's the journey. But that
Yes.
we're all full and complete right now, that we were never broken,
No. No.
ever.
No. We
And
just we decided to listen to everyone else because they say this about us. They say one day we can have bacon, but they say the next day you can't have bacon. But they say you should wear these types of shoes and have this type of clothes on. We need to tell they to shut the hell up. That's what we need to
yeah,
do. We need to stop listening to they because they're not right. We can do it ourselves.
you know what I have found, as I've been making these shifts in my life this year, like really big shifts
Yes,
over the
you
last
have.
couple of months, right? As this is as we're talking now, in the summertime, at the end of the summer, right, in August, and as my life is unfolding and making these really big shifts, is that I ask for these messages for the next step, not trying to figure, like 13 steps out, to stay out of this fear that you're talking about of trying to come through and stay true to myself in this path that I am committed to taking. But I tell you, it's really scary when you're going down these paths, and as you're trying to step into your purpose, you're trying to stay on purpose. You're trying to not listen to your own voices of whether it was. I don't think anything's a failure. I think we have touched on that, but I think there are all these learning experiences that we're here to learn. Whether it might be perceived as a failure, but man, did you learn a lot of stuff from,
It's not a failure if you learn something from it. No,
right, that reflection back of what you're learning or not learning. And
you
so,
just found something that did not work for you. That's all. So you started to do something that did work for you.
yeah, and
You stopped stepping in something else and you stepped into your purpose.
yes, yeah, and I needed those other steps, I think, to get here.
Sure.
I think I truly believe every um, no mishaps, but I think all of the stuff where I've had success and or failure in that materialistic world has all just been this beautiful journey. I think some of that's come with time and age, though, too, right? Like,
Sure.
and learning my own expectations. But so if somebody is thinking about making shifts in their life, whether they're big, radical, messy, ugly things, or their life has been thrown into a big change, right? Like a lot of that has happened for people last year too. How do they know that they're on their purpose? What do you have any suggestions or tips or
Yeah.
guides or that people
Yeah. Start
can
listening
know?
to their spirit guide. Stop listening to just regular people. Stop listening to the news, because they're not telling anything correct. That's for sure. They're just telling you what you want. They want you to hear. The best way I tell people is the window to it all. The window to it is meditation, because you will find out more things in meditation, especially about yourself, than you will anywhere else. Because spirit brings us messages all the time. We just don't always pay attention to them. And the reason we don't is because our minds, ourselves, are so clouded with everything else in the world, we don't have time for it. But the best way to make time for it is to make time disappear. And that is within meditation, because when you're in meditation, you are clearing your mind of everything, all the other muck that is out there. And then you're opening up your mind and allowing these messages to come through freely. And then you will hear more of them. But the only way you're going to do that is in meditation. And then you will get these messages much more clear. And then when you start doing on a regular basis, you're going to realize, I would rather have a clear mind than a mucked up mind like I did or like I was before. And then when you do that, you can start asking for it ahead of time before you go into meditation. Say it out loud, what you want from it. And then once you go in, they will bring it to you. But they want you to acknowledge the fact that they are there, and acknowledge the fact that you're actually communicating with them. And it's not going to come right away, because they want to know that they can trust you, that they're giving you the answers, and you're going to use the answers in a good way for yourself and for other people, not just to go out and, oh, I'm going to get some answers from spirit. And next thing you know, I'm going to be on Shark Tank. No, that's not what they want you to do. They want you to use it so you can help people, not make gazillions of dollars, because we don't need gazillions of dollars. Because when you leave here, you don't take gazillions of dollars with you. You don't take anything with you. What you will take is, hopefully just the love, and you'll let go of all that pain, anger, sorrow, grief, and guilt. But while you're here, we can let go of it now. We could let go of all that pain, anger, sorrow, grief, guilt, anguish, all that crap. And we could then move forward. That's what they want for us. That's where you're going to step into your purpose, when you have cleared all that other crap out. Because when you clear it out, you're going to realize you don't really need all that crap. All the crap that they said you needed. You don't. You're not going to need 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats, because no one does. What you will need and what you will find is the real you. And that's what we have to get back to. So, in order to do that, meditation is the key. I can't do the guided meditation, because look at me. I'm an old guy. I can't see myself climbing up a freaking tree, climb right up 50 steps. When I climb up 2 steps, my hip pops and it freaking hurts. So what I do is I go on YouTube, and I find what's called meditation music. I find binaural beats. I put that on my phone and put it on my little Bluetooth speaker and play that. And you'll notice more and more that you get into doing that, you'll start hearing the sounds in the background, way in the background, little dings and vibrations and stuff like that. When you do that, then you know it's working. When you just hear music, you have some practice to do. But that's where you're going to find it. That's where you're going to find the answers, because they are trying to help us. It's just not everyone listens. But the key to all that is listening and following through with what they tell you to do. It's pretty simple.
It's pretty wise advice. Stopping some of the busy to pause. I've always said that when I'm in
Right.
meditation.
Right.
Like
Stop being so busy.
when I was in this morning, I was in meditation with. It was a guided one this morning that I was in, Um,
Did you climb up a tree?
no, I was
Okay.
laying on the couch. I wasn't sitting in some special position. I was actually
Me
just
either.
laying on a comfortable couch.
Yeah, you don't have to
And
sit in a special position with your arms folded and you're sitting in that Indian. I can't sit
yeah,
in the Indian position because I don't. I'm not Indian and I just can't sit that way. But because my body's not made, just sit in a relaxed position for yourself. That's all you got to do. Yeah,
yeah, I have found that I've been doing more of my meditations because I try to do it before I jump out of bed, before I have my coffee, before I kickstart that part of my brain, like,
sure.
and for myself, I can generally tell a difference on the days that I did it or the days that I just jumped up and just ran, right? Started the busy day and maybe one day if I miss, I can maybe it's not a dramatic difference, but if I gone like 2 days without giving myself that even 5 minutes, it makes an impact on my day and how I'm able to respond and what I needed to get clear with myself. And I've always said that when I'm meditating, I'm receiving the messages. When I'm praying, I'm talking.
Yes.
I'm asking, like I'm asking God to help take something that is a worry for me. I've always said that, I feel like I'm lifting it up to him. Like, okay, I release this. Like, I can't worry about this anymore. I've done what I'm
Right.
doing. I'm taking action, but I need you to take this.
Right. And you are the one who's letting it go, and you're letting it, and you're saying, "Hey, can I give this to you?" Because he's not going to worry about it, but he will help. Hey, yeah, just give it to me, and then you let it go. As long as, because anything, that's like anything you have in the world. Anger, pain, sorrow, grief. If you have anxiety, you have depression. The only person who's going to release that depression from you is you. But you have to decide to do that as well. Just like if you were an alcoholic, I'd say, "Hey, Deb, I can take you to meetings, I'll take you to AA, we'll do all that stuff." But until you choose to actually stop drinking, whatever I say is not going to make a damn bit of difference. You have to choose to do it. So, but but if you're going to say, "Hey, you know what, I don't need this in my life today, God. Can you take it for me so I can?" And He will willingly do that. And then at that point, you've let it go. So then you can move on.
I in supporting that thought, I, I can remember at this moment in time where I was kind of in a really sad, dark place over the end of my 20-year relationship. And I remember um, I was trying to get out of it. And I was reading and listening to different things, but I ended up listening to this Marianne Williamson Return to Love audio that I picked up at the library. And she started to talk about this season of her life. And one of the words that has always stuck with me is that she had to decide. I think she was having a conversation with her mom, and her mom's like, when are you gonna snap out of whatever she was going through? And she's like, I will be happy when I decide to be happy.
Right.
I remember listening to that and writing down in my journal, I want to be happy. And it really is one of those pivotal moments that shifted everything. The universe, it's almost like the universe said, freaking good, thank goodness, here she goes,
She finally
right?
did it,
She
son of
got
a
it,
bitch.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's all it took. Granted, I had a lot of support and stuff to work out, right, on that day-to-day moment. But making that decision, no, I am gonna be happy.
You didn't finally have you didn't all of a sudden get a feeling like an angel just like smacked you in the head at that moment, did you?
Oh yeah, because I know they did, right? Like I have felt my angels around me my whole life, right? Like angels,
Wake
fairies,
up.
yeah, like snap out of it, or as my friend used to say, decided to stop hitting my head against that brick wall
Right.
because my face was all bloody and gushy from continually doing the same, you know same thing and expecting different results, wherever that famous quote is,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
decided that, yeah, but there was something the way she said it was that, Debbie will be happy when Debbie decides to be happy. And
Right.
I made that very conscious decision to be happy. And the things that came into my life at that point, I started traveling all over Asia for work. And I remember going to all these different places and just sitting in a moment of gratitude that I was someplace that I'd never been, and just calling back all parts and pieces of myself that were there that needed to be healed, or just calling it all back and being present. And I was happy. And it's amazing by making that decision to be happy.
Yeah, because the only person who's going to make you happy is you. No one else can. Yeah, just like when you get into a relationship with someone, you have to be something for yourself before you can be something for someone else. That other person's just going to add to your happiness, but you have to be happy initially.
That's a tough lesson. That is a very tough lesson for a lot of people,
Yeah.
including myself, right? To learn that saying, you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. I think we've all heard that since we were children. Love
Yeah, but we don't
yourself.
follow through with it because
Yeah.
we've all been there. We get out of a relationship, go right back into another one before we even healed up from the previous one. We have to give it time. We don't have to be in such a rush. But you got to be a little bit of a rush to fulfill that purpose.
Yeah.
You got to get it done. Well, not a real rush, because if you don't fulfill it this time, you're just coming back again to do it all over again. I mean, that's all. You don't want to
I'm
have to
glad.
do that again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not. I'm
Yeah.
glad I
I don't
know
want
that I'm
anyone
like,
else to. I don't want anyone else to have to do that. I hope they listen to that. I hope they listen to what I said about fulfilling it, because the world is heading down that rabbit hole. We're not getting to a good place. We're not at a good place now, and it's getting even worse. And it's eventually going to be really bad. And anyone who's over the age of 30 now, um, when you pass away, the next time you would have to come back would be 80 years after your life, after your death. And that in that lifetime, that's coming. This is not going to be a nice place. We're not going to be doing this podcast stuff because then there isn't going to be any computers or cars or telephones or none of that good stuff that we enjoy. It's going back to like living in the 1700s again, but a war-torn world, because that's what's coming.
unless a lot of us step in, right? Like,
Right. We have to step
we
in.
all have to step in. And
We
I think,
have to all step in and change it. Stop hating on each other because of the color of their skin, because for their race or religion. Well, we're all one race. We're the human race. We are men and women of this world. Like I said, we all live in the same place. No one's going anywhere anytime soon.
yeah, lifting each other up, encourage
Yes. Being a
love.
positive force in each other's lives. Yes. Get rid of all the people who are, I don't care if it's your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your best friend, your so called best friend, because we all have one of those. And I don't care if they're not lifting you up and being a positive force in your life, if they're not helping you, and you vice versa with them, and they're just constantly trying to drag you down and trying to tell you that you're a piece of crap. Get rid of them. They are a singer. You're the audience member, and as long as you stand there, you're going to sit there and listen to what they have to say. Don't turn around and walk away. You don't have to listen to them. Doesn't make a difference to your mom. Oh, that's my mom. You don't have to talk to your mom. If your mom's calling you a piece of crap and being a piece of crap to you in your entire life, why are you still there? You don't need that.
Yeah, we have the ability for choosing who is in our lives.
That's right. You choose who's in your life, but we also choose, to have these horrible people in our lives. And like I said, you can get rid of them, but if they come back in your life, it's because you chose to allow them to be there. That's why. Don't blame it on them. Oh, well, they said this and I said, well, get rid of them. Well, I got rid of them, but they came back. No, they came back because you allowed them to come back. Got to put your foot down and then move on and live your life in a positive way. Turn yourself around. Turn that frown upside down, babe.
Well, I think people, like, even beyond their immediate people who are in their life, right? Like when you start thinking about that saying, I don't know where I picked it up, like the 5 people that you spend the most time with in your life is a reflection of you and
Yeah.
what you're
Good.
calling in or you're bringing in or your life circumstances. And
Yeah. You
so,
get them, they get you.
yeah, and making those changes is not always, bed of roses.
No.
That's for sure. Whether it's at whether you go to a regular job, you do the nine to
Right.
five, where you're an entrepreneur. It's, when we make those conscious decisions about the environments we're going to put ourselves in, not that it's always, yeah, super easy to make those changes, but they're so worthwhile. They change
Yes.
everything.
Yes.
I know I wouldn't be here doing this, talking to you, having this conversation about life purposes. Like that's a pretty big subject. Right? Like step
It is
into your
for a lot of
purpose.
people.
The world needs you to step into your purpose, literally.
Yes.
Earth needs everybody to follow those messages that you receive. So do you believe that, because I say this frequently, so I want to hear what your opinion is on it, is
Not
that,
only does the world need you to step into that purpose, but you need the world to be able to do it.
ooh, that's big.
I'm a big guy. 6'1". Stand right over that 5'5".
Right? It's, what if somebody isn't clear, right? They the fear is bigger than this little voice that they hear.
Get rid of fear. Just imagine all the places you might have gone or people you might have met without fear in your life. Say when you were young, you would say, I want to ask that guy out, but he might say no. Well, if he does say no, who cares? There's a gazillion of them out there. You'll find another one. And if he does say no, that just means he's not the right one for you. Go out and find the right one. Go out and do things without any fear. Well, I don't want to go on vacation because I'm afraid if I get on this airplane, I'm going to die. No, I don't want to go on that vacation either because if I get on the airplane, I'm going to die. No, you're not. You're going to die. Everybody dies. You're only going to die once, not from every airplane. That's all. I mean, there's two simple rules in this life. If we learn them and understand them, and we basically comprehend them, you will appreciate your life a little bit better. Rule number one is people die every day, and rule number two is you can't change rule number one. So go out and live your life. Don't let that headstone be the marker. You be the marker. Because when you die, you're not going to care about that headstone. Where's that? I call it a rock garden because that's all it is. It's a place with a bunch of rocks that people did the big ceremonial of the digging of the hole and dropping in the box, and you're not even there. So those types of ceremonies are just for live people, not dead. And when if you want to have, and it's all about respect. No, if you want to have respect for that person, have respect for them when they're living. Celebrate their lives. We should all celebrate our lives now and get away from the crap. But yeah, they have to go out and do it. These things are not just going to come to us. You have to do it. God helps those to help themselves. No, God already helped you once. He put you here. The rest is up to us. So you can sit around with your thumb in your butt all day, like I said, watching Netflix, or you can go and be proactive about your life. That's what, and that's how we're going to get out there. But you got to have faith in it. Like I said, you're good enough to do anything you want to do, but you got to have faith in that. Stop letting everyone else tell you that you don't, because they don't know what you're talking about. They don't live your life. You do. You can do amazing things in this world. Just have faith in it because he has faith in you. Why don't you?
Oh, isn't that the truth? I mean, really having people let that soak in. Like, how many things have you not done because of fear and living your life while you're here? I think as I've gotten older, maybe it's because I'm mid-50s, right? That I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I no longer afraid of?
Right. Right. You don't have to be afraid of a lot of stuff. But I'm not saying walk out in the middle of traffic. That's just dumb. But
We're
but
not telling dude something really stupid.
yeah, don't go out and do anything. Yeah. As I say to people all the time, be good and don't do any stupid shit. That's what I tell them because people do stupid shit all the time. But we could stop doing that stupid shit if we just decided to stop doing it. But they have these are the lessons they have to learn for themselves. But yeah, we could go out and do so many more things if we weren't in fear of everything. But I'm not saying there aren't crazy people out there because there are. But if you know that, then don't walk out fearful. Just take precautions. That's all.
This earlier this year in June, actually, I planned myself a 2-week road trip by myself.
You're on it.
And I went from, I live in Reno, Nevada, and I drove out to the Bay Area, went to a baseball game. I love baseball. Met up with some friends, but from there I went up the rest of the Northern California coast and the Oregon coast. And, use practical knowledge to keep myself safe, right, as a single female on the
Were you
road.
playing a Johnny Cash song?
I actually do have Johnny Cash in my.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere.
I think I was singing, the whole Ring of Fire was one of the songs I was
awesome.
playing. Right, I love that song, and as I was doing it, I did a little bit of posting on social media, but not a lot, right? Like just here's a couple of pictures for today. Part of it was for safety. People knew that I was safely at a destination someplace, right?
Sure.
But I didn't really write a lot about it because I thought, oh, I'll come back to that later this summer and write an article or something about it. But the biggest thing that the comments would constantly say in being that is because that fear of places that I had been, but I hadn't been in so long that it was going to be a brand new memory. It's going to be a brand new experience. And I can look back at those pictures just from a couple months ago and go, wow, like the energy is just radiating. And in talking to you, what I realized is that it wasn't so much that I was sitting on this beautiful beach on the Oregon coast in the fog in the morning and my feet are in the water as it's, coming up. It was the fact that I did it.
Right.
Not where I was.
Right.
That I was
You did it. And those things wouldn't have happened unless you went out and did it.
Yeah.
It's not really like and it's not really like you had to force yourself to do it. You didn't. You just said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a plan, and you stuck with it.
And I'm going to make it work. And if I eat peanut butter and jelly every night, yay.
Hey, man, what's wrong with peanut butter and jelly? Yeah,
I
right.
love peanut butter and jelly, actually.
Me too.
So it wasn't, I was able to do it in a budget and just had this amazing experience of, I actually have this picture, Daniel. I'll have to send it to you. I am on Highway 101 and I'm in the Avenue of the Redwoods.
Are you wearing the same green dress?
Actually, I might actually be wearing this dress because I wear it a lot.
Then I will love that picture.
Yeah.
Like it's my own.
Yeah, right. And I got out, there's nobody on the road. And I had seen a Honda with 3 ladies in it, and they had stopped and they were in the middle of the road taking a picture. And so I was like, oh, I want to do that. So I drove up and drove up further. There's still nobody really much traffic on this road. It was that perfect divine timing. I got out and I took a picture where you can see the whole road behind me, and I'm in, this the Avenue of the Redwoods, like magnificent, like beautiful. It was like a movie scene, right?
Yeah.
And I'm smiling so big because I'm like, I'm in the middle of the road. There's no traffic, of course.
You're in the moment, man.
Right? Like totally in the moment. I know that the angels are making sure that nobody's out there, right? Like their presence connected in. And
there was one down the end of the road directing traffic.
Yeah, right.
Get out of the way. Picture taken.
picture taken. I get in, I go down, and once I'm as I'm getting back into my car from taking the picture, the car that I had passed, that prompted this idea, waved. Like they knew exactly
Yeah, they
what
knew what was going on.
they had done. You know, um, so one of the things I'm
You think
curious
that
about.
happened by coincidence too?
No, not
No,
at all. Right?
no.
Because it was busy.
Yeah.
Probably 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, the floodgates, as my dad used to say, would flow open and all the people would come. And nobody else, how often can you get a picture like that? Like it's kind of rare, I think. And but those things have
Moments.
happened to me my whole life, right? Where I have
Moments.
these
Yeah.
moments. I think that those moments are because I've acknowledged that they are actually a moment and that they are being created by my spirit team, by
They
my
are, because
connection with the angels.
what happens is your spirit guides are telling you these messages to do, and not only are you listening, but you're following through. And when you follow through with them, these good things happen. But when we talk ourselves out of things, they don't happen as often, but they will happen more often if you listen and follow through. You decided to go on this trip because they said, let's go on this trip. And you said, I'm going on this trip. And then things happen. A lot of things have happened, haven't they, Debbie?
Yes, yes, especially recently. Right? Like I just went on this trip to Lake Shasta, right? And phenomenal. Ended up connecting with three other friends. All coincidences, right? Like how it all unfolded, no coincidences there. And had the most magical time with these three other healer friends. And I think the energy that we broadcasted out by us coming together in this field, I I, I have to look up more adjectives because I can't quite express it with the words of the energy that I felt, the
Sure.
connection
It's hard to
with
do.
putting my feet in that ground, of hearing that water run, seeing the deer that we're watching. Though we probably never physically saw them, I could sense that they were there watching us. I could feel the ancestors of people who had stayed on that land,
You
and
felt the energy.
and we felt the energy.
Yep.
One friend brought singing bowls, and there wasn't
Really?
a lot of talk.
I love meatballs.
Yeah,
Who doesn't? Who doesn't love those balls of meat? That's for sure. Holy shit.
it's just um, so remarkable. And I had a point, and I think I went off. I think my blonde's showing there, but
Is it?
um, I this
You
whole
wouldn't have done all this
purpose.
unless you followed through with it, and you did
Yeah.
it all, and it's happening, and it's coming down like dominoes. It's just one after another. Boom, 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 boom.
Yeah,
Happening.
yeah. And I think that as people will hear is that what I'm calling in now is to be able to go off and do this on the road. And
Everything that's happening to you on this trip, you can't make this shit up. You can't. I mean, this trip is becoming so exciting for you, man. You should be selling tickets.
people are gonna wonder
So
how did
everybody
that
else
show
could
up?
watch
Yeah,
so they could watch the show because it's that exciting.
yeah. Well, and I think about like people are like, oh, my life is fine. I don't need any healing, right? That's where
Okay.
I was like, okay, I know there's stuff that I could be a better version of myself, right?
Sure could.
And as I've continued to be a better version of myself, I've of course run into friends who are like, or friends that you've had for a long time, who are like, well, what was wrong with the version of you before, where they're not stepping into doing any type of personal development, self development, healing work. It can be talk therapy, whatever I think, you know, calls to them or they try or different stuff. And I've always been challenged on how do you actually explain why we go down these paths, why we decide to make ourselves this better version of ourselves.
We get sick and tired of being sick and tired. That's why, more or less. Yeah, we get to these uh these forks in the road, or we pick up on a sense that we're stuck, that we feel stale at the moment. It's just the same old thing over and over and over again. You wake up, you do your daily routine, you shit, shower, and shave, and then you get ready for work, and you go to work, and you do your job, and then you come home, and then you have some dinner, and you watch some TV, and then you go to sleep, and you do it all over again, and it's all in the same mundane voice over and over and over and over and over again. And then some of us wake up and go, tired of this. There's got to be something more. Why am I still doing this? It's all I've been doing. And some of them go, you know what? I'm going to do it different. And they decide to wake up. But maybe what's waking them up is spirit telling them, hey, you know what? You don't need to do this anymore. There's something more. There's something better. There's a better you out there than just this. You woke up. But more people need to realize that, yeah, we don't have to do, just go out and sell, and buy, and got to have 6 cars and 7 houses and 10 boats. And who are you really doing that for? Are you doing it for yourself? No, well, you just bought 6 boats. So you made that guy at the boat dealership really happy. And the guy at the car dealership because you had 7 cars now. And the realtor because you have 10 houses. And now you're in a hole for a shitload of money. They're happy. But did you really do anything for yourself? Can you really be in 10 houses all at once? No. What are you doing all that for? Oh, because my friends think it's cool. Oh, really? Are your friends living your life? No. Oh, then why are you doing it? Because I pay too much attention to Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and watch too much TV. And they are all telling me that I need this in my life. They don't know what you need. You do. Wake up. Stop listening to they. Start listening to you. And then you'll figure it out. That's what you did.
Yeah. And I don't know, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but
No.
a lot of the guests that have been on here too,
You know
is
how I
that
know that you're not the only one?
Mhm.
Because that guy went past you in the car and waved.
Yes.
Because he gets it.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of us have this the awakening, right? The spiritual awakening, the dark soul
Yes.
of the night, whatever, there's a lot of ways. Or and a lot of us don't pay attention until something seems like bad happens, right? It's the end
Yeah.
of a relationship. You've lost a job. Um, it's a death. It's an addiction. It's something
Yeah, or
traumatic.
something bad, or somebody. Yeah, you see them all on TV all the time. The movie stars. They don't start a college fund or something like that until somebody like they know close to them got cancer, even though everyone else in the world gets cancer. It's only because it happened to them do they start these things. But they're it's happening to us all. It's not just one person. It happens to everyone. Everyone has to be proactive and decide when they are going to wake up.
Yeah, that they really are opportunities. Even though we hear this over and over and over, right? But you hear it over and over with everybody who has shared. It's been something presented itself, and
Yes.
there was some pain, and but choosing to see it as a blessing, um, you know,
Choosing it to see a
looking beyond.
light in their life and not a darkness.
Yeah, I mean, would I have liked to have started down my path without some of that? Oh, you bet I would, Daniel. I could have easily. It's like all those snotty crying nights or years, really, of like, why is this so miserable with blah, blah, blah? Like, yeah, could I have just jumped forward, and skip some of that? I, it,
Had to
it,
learn from it.
yeah, I think it's actually what it took it, right? It had to be so bad that it's like, are you gonna keep doing this to yourself? It's seeing it
Brick wall.
as opportunities, right? But some stuff happened to us so those are the ones that we have that we know that we have those choices, right? To make the
Yes.
decisions. But some things happen, you lose somebody does get a diagnosis, you lose them, right? Like I would have liked to not learn some of the lessons that I learned from the passing of my sister, the passing of my dad early, right?
You didn't
But
really
there's
lose them though. We lose the relationship, but you don't really lose them as I know because I see spirit all the time. They just went somewhere else. It was just they were just not supposed to be here anymore. But you are.
yeah, or the job loss, or
But was it a loss because now you've gained something else? You lost it, but say if you were still there, you think you would have met Mr. Blue Shirt?
no way. I would have been
Right.
working. Yeah,
Right.
for myself, right?
Right. It's just it's all about perception. It's all how about how you perceive what it is. Is it a loss or because the world is full of losses and gains. But we sometimes look at the losses too hard and less so much on the gains, but maybe some of those losses lead to more gains, but we just don't see it that way until after the fact. And then I'm just one of those people that happens to point these things out to people.
Yeah, when one door shuts, another one opens. How long
Yes.
has that saying been around?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true.
But if we stare too
Don't
long at
just
that door,
shut the door and then stand at the door waiting for another one to open. It's got to open when you open it. That's why it's got a doorknob. It has to be opened by you.
ooh, I like that. It's why
Yeah.
it has a doorknob. Are you deciding? I decided to be happy. I decided, so I opened the doorknob.
Yes.
I've always heard about the door opening, never heard about. That's why the doorknob's there.
Yeah,
Daniel, you
it's
should
not just
solve
a
one of the
push
greatest
door.
mysteries.
Yeah, it's not just a push door that somebody else could push on the other side and bump into you. Yeah, you got to open the door yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
you got to go out and be proactive and do these things ourselves. We can't just wait for them to happen because if you just wait for them to happen, they'll take a really long time. And or if everyone is opening that door for you, you're not going to appreciate it.
so one of the things that I constantly say, again, I want your opinion on this, is because your point of view is just fascinating to me. By the way, Daniel, you're just a fascinating guy. And if you guys can see him, he's pretty handsome too. So um, we've had that better back and forth as well. He's a very handsome guy, and is that I call it inspired action. Is that you can't just decide, oh, I'm going to just will something to happen and keep asking for it. Like you
No.
actually have to do your part
Yeah.
to to make it happen. That you have to take those steps. I kind of say sometimes feel a fear and do it anyway, right? I think there's a book title called that. You feel it. If you
Boom.
feel it, got to get uncomfortable
Yeah.
and take steps.
Yeah. Steps forward, not backwards. Don't run away from it. Face it. Face everything because it's going to come in front of you anyway. You can't live in the past. Even though, like I've said, we probably touched on past lives before, but those past lives, yeah, they were just learning experiences. But you don't have to worry about past lives or do the whole past life regression stuff because the thing of it is, if your past life was so important, you would have fulfilled your purpose and you wouldn't be here now experiencing these things now. Now, yes, you did have to come back again, but your life is not really that bad. It's still pretty good. Now, we do have some bad experiences, but again, life was meant to be easy. What would be the point of living? But you're here now. So that other ones, They're okay, but they're in the past. Just like if you applied for a job now and they look at your record and they say, well, Debbie, looks pretty good, but you know what? I don't like this thing you did here when you were 12. And you go, but sir, I'm not 12 anymore. I was 12. I thought like a 12-year-old. I didn't have an experience, you know? Yeah, but I don't like kids that play with jacks and balls. I just, thought it was kind of dumb. So I'm not going to give you this job, flying an airplane. Good. But it doesn't make sense. Why? Because you don't want people judging you on what you did previously. So you don't want them judging you on your previous lives, and you don't want them judging you on what you did before. You're not that person anymore. You have grown, you have moved forward since that. You want them on the face value that you have now, that the things you've been doing in your life now, the things that you have experience in now. You're not that person anymore. So since you're not that person, let that part of you go because you can, because you should. Don't base your life on, the abusive husband you had 20 years ago because you're not that same person. You don't put up with that shit no more. You don't do it. You know the red flags before you get into a relationship now. Why? Because you had to go through that to learn it. And it was good that you learned from it, but it's not, even though it's part of you, but it's not. You're not that person anymore. We have to get past all that crap. We have to do what's important, and what's important is what you do now, not what did then.
Yeah, and I have found on my journey of doing that too is to even to really take a look at things that even at this point, 20 years later, is identifying even things that could possibly trigger some bizarre, not maybe a happy part of that part of your life or a past experience, but to even take a look at those whether maybe it's a song, right? Like I get triggered a lot by music. I can write a book about the phases of life around music. In fact, I'll probably write that as a book one day. But um,
You got a lot of books to write.
I do, I
Yeah,
do, right?
freaking library.
Yeah, I do. I have multiple coming through, and we'll see
I
which
don't think
ones.
so much that they're triggers either. I think you're just connecting with it. It reminds you of a part of your life, and then you recognize it, and you go, "Okay, that was cool. That was cool back then, but
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
that person anymore. I'm this person now."
yeah. It's really. I think it's quite powerful in being able to eventually let go of what you're saying,
Yeah.
those triggers, and and darn it, if I had a train of thought about that that was connecting back to what we had talked about
I keep screwing you up.
earlier. Yeah, let's get all combobulated here. Um, I'm having
You
too
keep
many blonde moments. What's
Yeah,
happening here,
yeah,
Daniel? Um,
yeah. I'm okay with it.
yeah, and I think okay, what I do know for sure is that in making that big decision, I was going to be happy. Right? We all have to make this decision, whether you use those words or not, right? Like
Yes.
whatever it is. For me, it was I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy with myself, my life, and I'm going to go out and figure out what that looks like, and then taking that next step. But also that as I made that journey, I've had so much different types of support to get there, right? It was somebody who was a step ahead of me. Maybe they were old, maybe they had walked a marathon before me. But knowing that I needed that type of support, whether it was an organization, a program, a coach, listening to you, right? Like whatever it was, because I really believe that. And in talking with my friend Erin, who was just on my podcast recently too, is that we're not meant to be alone.
No. Well, you're never alone anyway. You have spirit guides with you all the time. But yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, I really like how they help me with parking too, by the way. I want to give thanks to that parking angel. So
You know what, a lot of people,
I was there.
take, the whole alone thing is they think, "Oh, if I'm gonna be alone, I don't wanna be alone," because, but they only think of the, terms of being in love with someone. If you have friends, if you have really good friends, you're never alone. You have a dog or a cat, you're never alone.
Yeah, I've never been alone.
Yeah.
All those, yeah, I have pets, I have friends, uh, building communities with people. Um, and I'm like kicking myself because I can't think of my train of thought.
You don't ever have to be alone either, just go out and be around people. But
Yes.
again, that's only gonna happen if you go out and do it.
Yeah, taking that inspired action.
Yes. Proactive, man. Take the initiative.
Yeah. So, what are some of the things that you've seen people do for inspired action? If they're calling in and they're feeling aligned, what have you seen people do?
I see people not just thinking about themselves. The people that I run into are actually doing something about it. They're going out and trying to talk to people, especially within this, I guess you call it a business of what I do when I do readings and stuff like that. I come across spirit. Let me say the best way. Spirit brings them to me. Spirit brings people to me for me to help them wake up because of gifts that they don't realize that they have. My very first, what I call professional reading that I did, I was at doing a festival circuit. It's the first festival I did, very first one, my very first reading, and this kid sat in front of me, and and I could see this nervous look about his face, and he was just shaking. He was so nervous, and he sat down in front of me, and I said, "All right, let me see what I get here first." And I said, "Let me hold your hand." And I took his hand, and when I did, I said, "Woo!" And he said, "What?" I said, "You got a gift, don't you?" And he went, and he burst out in tears, and he was like, I was so hoping that you were going to pick up on that. I was so hoping." And I said, "Yeah, I picked up on that. They told me right away you got a gift." And he said, "What do I do next?" And that's where it kicked it. And then I kicked in and said, "Hey, okay, this is what you got to do next." And I started get out a pen and paper and just start writing these things down. These are the things I want you to do, and you have to do this and this and this and this. And you're going to go through all this mess. So it's going to be a while, but you're going to come through it. And then when you get out there and you're in it and you're doing the same thing I am, then go out and do what I do. Go out and help people. And I've been having that happen ever since I've been in this. Spirit brings them to me. I know they're doing this. I've asked them about it. They say they're doing it because they want me to help wake them up and to get them on the road to doing what we are supposed to be doing. There are more and more people being woken, having these awakening spirit things happen to them. But the problem is they don't have any guidance with it. But they do now. Every time I get in contact with these people, I meet people from my live show. I do a live Facebook reading show once a month, and I somebody comes on, and the next thing you know, they say, "Well, I'm having this." I said, "No, you're not just having this, you're having this." And they say, "Well, how did you know that?" I said, "Well, because you're talking to medium. That's how I know that." And and then I tell them, when we get done with the program, email me. You and I need to have a talk. And then they come to me, and then I help them, and I get them on their way. Get them on their way to enough that they don't, they can find more people where to go and do that, and I set them on their way. But it's not going to happen again until like what we're talking about, being proactive. They I do readings for people, and I am here to help people, and I get messages for people, and but I'm doing the same thing. I'm doing that for everyone, because when I do a reading for someone, I always tell them, you may not get the reading that you want, but you will get the reading that you need. And the reading that they normally need is, like we talk about, world isn't all rainbows and unicorns. I did a reading for a woman one time, and she says, I want to go on a bunch of trips and all this stuff. I said, well, you can't. She said, what do you mean I can't? I said, you can't. I said, you don't have enough money to do it. You have to stop spending all this money. You're in really total debt. And you need to, that's what you need to work on too. And this is February of 2020, right in the very beginning. And she said, but I want to go on all these trips. I said, you can't afford to go. You need to get your credit straight. So about 10 minutes into the reading, she said, you're right. I'm living day to day and I don't have any money and all this stuff. And I said, so how do you expect to go on all these trips? And she said, well, the other three mediums that I went to today said I'm going. And I said, well, they're lying to you. Why are they telling me that stuff? Because they want your money. That's why. I don't really need your money, but I am here to tell you, you need to save up your money. And that's the reading that she needed to hear, not all the other crap. She needed to know that you can't do this stuff until you get yourself straight. That's what she needed to hear. And when I get messages for people, I give them messages that they need to hear, not all the fluff that the world has taught them that they want to hear. We have to get rid of that. So yeah, the people that come to me and the ones that I see, that's the way that I'm helping them, and I'm hoping they move forward with it. But again, it's not up to me; it's up to them. And I'm seeing that happen more and more wherever I go. I'm seeing more people starting to do that. I wish it was a whole lot more, but you know, first you have to make the snowball, and then you have to stand on a hill, and then you have to drop it. And the only way that snowball is going to grow is it just rolls continuously down that hill, gaining more momentum and more snow to make a bigger snowball. And until we do that, none of it's going to happen. So, yeah, I see it happening, but I want it to happen more. So, when I get to help all the people that I get to help, I mean, it is a great feeling when you do get to help someone. But I'm hoping that they pass the message on, they pass the experience on. Not just to come back to me, because I don't need them just to come back to me. I want them to go out to other people and try to converse with other people and move and move and move until I don't want to put a message out. I want to put a movement out. There's just a message within that movement. But it's gotta be that. It's gotta be movement. It can't be stand still anymore because stand still is not working. Standing around waiting for someone else to do it is not going to make it to it. You have to go out and do it yourself. I hope more people do.
I hope they do too. I mean, it really is, putting together this podcast was to be able to provide connection with the people that I know that I've come across in my journey. And we're just starting, right? Like, this is my first season.
Hmm.
And I'm having people find me who I connect with, who I believe in their messages, who there's somebody who's listening who needs to work specifically with you. There's somebody who needed to work specifically, say, with Tammy, right? There's something that resonates with everybody that I'm bringing forward. Everybody may not want to work with everybody who's on here. Like, that wasn't the purpose, right? The purpose is to shine their light. And as they shine their light, that they're making the ripple effect. Somebody's finding that, they're sharing their light, then the ripple effect. There's so much to this, the movement of being able to share more light. As we shine our own light, it allows others to shine their light. I think it's Marianne Williamson who has that poem too, right? Like, who are you not to be?
Yeah, we have to do this together. You are correct. Instead of instead of throwing one rock out there, let's throw a whole bunch of rocks out there. Instead of making a ripple effect, let's make a wave. Because we got to turn this place around. But yeah, you are correct. It starts off small. We're also I'm only in my second season of doing a podcast. I've only been doing it for about since April. So but we just record all of our shows ahead of time. But yeah, it is a small step in the, but it is in the right direction. But the only way it's going to get out there is by causing that ripple effect, causing it's gonna get listened to a couple people here and there, and then they're gonna, what's that commercial when we were kids, when you put that shampoo in your hair and,
Oh,
oh, and you'll
yes.
tell two friends and so on and
Yes.
so on.
Yeah, and all the, all the
Gee, your hair smells
smells
terrific.
terrific.
Yeah, but but even that ad campaign worked because I remember that from 40 years ago. We need an ad campaign that's going to do that and is going to last 40 years into the future, 50 years into the future. What is it going to be? Who is going to create the better mousetrap? Who's going to get it out there? But it's not going to get out there unless we all try.
And it
We
really
got to,
does start with each of us, right? Like,
yes,
you don't have to go off and start a podcast or start
no,
a business. Like, we're out there visible, but simply even changing themselves.
yes, change, because it has to start there. You got to change yourself first. You can't be that humdrum, glum person just sitting around all day and going, oh, I'll wait for somebody else to do it. I'm not going to do this. No, get out there and do it. Change yourself because we all have to change. We all have to become, like you were talking about, trying to be a better self, better you, better version of you. Debbie 3.0,
Oh yeah, just wait. 2.0
Yeah.
is pretty fun and spectacular, let me tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 3.0 at this point. Oh my gosh, it's gonna like, it's, you can just feel it, right? You can feel the energy of what's coming in, and this next phase, I guess you could say.
Yes.
It's pretty spectacular. Like,
Yes.
it was well worth, but I couldn't have done it without 1.0 and 2.0.
Yeah. And because you're going to grow, you're going to learn. You have to go through the phases to get to the next phase. You can't just jump ahead. Jumping ahead doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard me talk about the crock pot analogy in some of my other
No, I'd like to hear
podcasts,
that one
right?
though.
So,
What do you got in the crock pot?
so in the crock pot, like your whatever that was, right? It could be applied to the 1.0 or the 2.0 version. But say you and I, when we had talked about the whole comparison thing, is how I use it a lot. Of, there really is no comparison. You and I could be exactly the same person. Maybe I have longer hair than you, and they can see later.
I used to have pretty long hair.
There's no
I
hair,
don't
right?
know, man.
But in my crock pot, I can have chicken and some garlic and carrots and kale, or and cilantro, and yours could be full of roast and potatoes and carrots and maybe a piece of celery or onion in there. But
Sounds like mine. Yep.
it all just kind of comes together. All those different experiences, right? Like, are parts that we put in here, and it all starts to simmer, and it just continually creates who we are, everything that we're, our experiences, whatever like healing modalities that we could all be exactly the same way, same approach, 20 people lined up, but yet
Different ingredients.
we all have different ingredients, different ways of saying the exact same thing, and they might want the roast with the potatoes and carrots, and versus they don't like cilantro so much. Mine's full of cilantro and garlic, right? So, but
Who doesn't like cilantro?
right, I
They are
don't know.
un-American. They're
Right?
un-American.
Or garlic. I love garlic too.
Who doesn't like garlic?
Throw me in some more garlic.
What's wrong with these people?
I don't know, but they're not going to be wanting to eat my food. I can tell you
Yeah,
that.
they're not
They
going to have
don't like
dinner
it.
with us. That's for sure. Good Burger King.
But I think about like we had talked about, like, as I make this shift, right? Like, I'm making a big shift in my life. We'll use me because there's nobody else to pick on. But I feel this call to go out on the road. this call to be able to reach more people. And there's unknown things that I don't know about that I'm just going to have to walk through the fear, of how is it all going to come together? Who am I going to meet? But what's so exciting about this 3.0 is that, man, who am I going to meet?
Right.
Who am I going to like something in them, whether I never see them again, whether it's a simple exchange of just acknowledging that you saw them, that makes them change their lives. It almost sounds like a Hallmark movie, but we have that ability to make that just by simply doing the work on ourselves.
Not only who do you get to meet, but who they get to meet. You. But they're not going to do that unless you get out and do it, unless they get out and do it as well.
Yeah, like how could we have ever even connected paths if you hadn't decided, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put myself out. I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be the norm. And I'm going to follow this message, this purpose that I'm being drawn to. Can't always explain why you're being drawn to it.
Right.
And watching it unfold.
Or stop asking why. And just be okay with it. You're not going to know unless you're just okay with it. Stop asking why it's happening and just roll with it. We could all roll with it, just not everybody does. But I want them to.
Yeah, I can hear Steve Winwood.
Steve Winwood? Roll with it.
With it, babe.
That's right. Yeah.
I love that song. His comeback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, aging myself. But, I hope that whoever listens to us continually talk about this purpose of getting out there, getting uncomfortable, listening, doing the meditation so that you can receive their own guidance that's there within themselves, and that it doesn't have to be something, you don't have to find yourself on Oprah, right? Not that she has her show anymore, but
no, especially not now. Oof, okay.
yeah, we won't go down there. But it's but that's not the reason, right? Like it's not the reason. That it could be simply reading a book about, feel the fear and do it anyway, right? Like it's one of my books I read quite a while ago. In the meantime, there's so many books that are out there that have you just step forward, walk through the fears, and get the support so that they can make those simple changes within themselves. Maybe they struggle with being mad at the world, and they learn how to not be mad. They learn how to have a beautiful, healthy conversation with somebody.
They need to learn to let it go, because that anger is going to just tear you apart. You don't want to be that person. Nobody wants to be that person, I don't think, but some of them do turn into that. But you have to learn to let it go. It's for very easy, 3 simple words. Just let it go. Be better. Be better than that. You go out there and be a 3.0, just like Debbie is.
Yeah, just wait, world. Ooh, we're going to look back at this podcast, because when you do look back, right, you can go back 10 years ago and look at those things that used to be fearful about. That's why I love journaling, by the way, is that when you journal, it's not so much for me always about getting it out, but you're able to then go back every once in a while and read it to see that, oh, this used to be a trigger, whether it was the song or this used to be a really big fear. And now, like, I've never been afraid of talking to people, by the way, Daniel. I'm sure that's a shock to you, right? Like, people have been talking to me since I've been a wee child, right?
No way.
No, right? And made friends easily, right? Like, people have always come up to me in the grocery store and talked. I know so much about people and love people, And so, but getting out and doing something like this was like, yeah, I didn't have a lot of fear actually, but there are things that I can look back in with the journaling from 10 years ago or 20 years ago and go, oh, not a big deal. You know, the first time you walk through an international airport by yourself and you're like, okay, how do I get from nobody speaks my language? How do I get from my airport to my hotel?
What is Farsi?
You know, and how quickly you learn, I just need a business card that says, where's the toilet? And the name of your hotel, and you're good.
This is my pencil. Oh, I don't know what that meant.
Right? And but once you do it the first time, you're like, oh, no big deal. But all the things that have accumulated to get to your 2.0 or your 3.0, it's these simple things. And I love the journal where you can go back and look so you can see how much you've actually walked through those own fears. So now the one thing that's always common is that it always all works out.
Yeah, because after you do it and you look back on it and you read it in the journal, you go, man, that really was a big deal to me. So much that I had to write it all down. Now it's just like I do it all the time, but I had to go through it. I had to face that fear of doing it. And it meant so much. I had to write it all down. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, it really does have an impact of being able to go back and look. And not that everything always works itself out. You always figure it out. It might look different. In fact, it's going to be different, but it all works itself out. You
It
always
does.
figure it out.
And the person who's going to do that is you. We don't need to look to everyone else to figure out everything for us. We can do it ourselves. We just have to look within ourselves to be able to do that. Have faith in ourselves.
No shortcuts. There's no
Yeah, no,
microwave. It is the crock pot. It's not the microwave.
I
Or
love
that
my
or that
microwave.
Instapot thing, right? You
I,
know, oh
I
this
love oodles and noodles. I love my microwave. Don't kill my microwave, man. I'm a microwave chef. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
oh. So Daniel, if there is one or two takeaways from everybody listening,
Well,
what would
those
you
two
want them to know?
takeaways, they would be stop letting the world burden you with all these things that they say that you need because you don't need those. You need yourself. Everything will begin and end with you. But the only way that that's going to happen is if you get up and do something about that. Like I said, there's that old saying, God helps those that help themselves. Not really. God already helped you. He put you here. He wants us to figure out the rest. But we're not going to figure it out unless we actually try. But in order to try, you need to have faith in yourself to do that. So stop letting the world continuously trying to tear you down. Don't listen to them. Listen to your spirit guides. Those are those gut feelings that you get that are goods about things, or the gut feeling that tells you this is the bad thing to do. Listen to those feelings that are within you. Stop looking at Facebook for everything and TikTok and what's that one my wife likes to Reddit. Oh boy. Stop looking at all that stuff and start where it began, where it begins within you. Listen to yourself. Because that self that you're actually listening to is your soul. That's who you are. It's what makes up you. All those other lives that you had is what makes up your personality, but it's still your soul coming back each time. It makes up who you are. Listen to that. And when you do that, like we talked about with the meditation, you get back to that and listening into that, tapping into you, you're going to find out so much more about you than you've ever known in your entire life. And things will clear up for you and you'll be able to move forward. But listen to yourself and follow through. And then number two is to have faith in it. Have faith in that and have faith in you because you're good enough to do absolutely anything that you want to do in this life. You just have to want to do it. And you will. Don't let anyone else tell you that you can't because you can as long as you want to. And when you do that, you will become the better you of you. You will become the 3.0. Forget that 2.0 stuff. That's old news. Let's move forward. Let's get past 5G. Go to 10G.
Well, I hope, as you were saying those tips, I just thought to myself, that's just a message for me. But it applies to all of us,
Yes, everyone.
even though it feels so personal. Well, there is a message there for me too, but
Here's a
it's
message
for
for you.
all of us.
Now, at the very beginning of this pandemic, they were saying, "Oh, we're all in this together." You don't need them to tell you that. We have always all been in this together. We are all we have, are each other. Let's look at that. Let's see what it really is. We can help each other and then move forward. Don't listen to them. Listen to yourself. One other thing. We need to stop going out there and judging each other. When you have somebody in front of you and you're about to judge them, before you do, stop and take a self inventory of yourself. Listen and think about all the crap that you've had going in your life. Then look at that other person and realize, you know what? They probably had some crap going on right now. Then bite your tongue and walk away because no one has the right to judge anyone. We're all human beings. We all go through stuff. Let it go, man. Not important. That's all I got to say.
I was going to say ditto to that.
Oh,
There
yeah.
was coming from healthcare recently. There is a video, and it's one of the hospitals up in the Northeast that put together this video where you see people walking through, and you don't know what people are going through.
Mm-mm.
You don't
You
know
don't.
what their day was that day or that year, or especially with the opportunities that came out of last year.
I have a short little story I can tell you how you don't know what's going through anyone's mind because no one ever does. When I was working in prison, I went up into the nurse's station because I was doing medical records at the time, and I walked in, and there was this guy who was getting ready to be released. Big guy, 6'5", 300 pounds, huge man. And I sat down across him. I knew him from being in there. He was a little bit slow, so I sat with him. But just because he's slow doesn't mean he's not a human being because they all are. So I sat with him. I said, "So you getting out of here today?" And he said, "Yeah," because I do the records. I know he's leaving. And he said, "Yeah, what are you going to do?" He said, "I don't know, maybe go get something to eat, maybe chill with some friends." I said, "Yeah, go to Arby's, go get a roast beef sandwich. It's got to be better than Fish Friday down here because this Fish Friday doesn't smell like fish." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I think I'll do that. I'll sit home, play some video games, just chill." I said, good idea. I said, just do good stuff. And he said, "All right." And then the CEO come up and said, "Yep, we got to go." And I said to him, like I said to everyone who's leaving, be good and don't do any stupid shit. And he got up and said, "See you later." He walked away. They walked down the hallway. And then I saw him turn and look at the CEO. And then I saw the CEO jump on top of him, start spraying him with pepper spray. And he's calling all the other ones for a code, and they're all coming down there. And it takes 4 or 5 of them to get this guy down on the ground and cuffed back up and then put into the receiving room again. And I go down there about 20 minutes later and I said, "What happened there?" He said, he walked down the hallway with me, turned around, looked at me, and said, "You know what? I think I'm going to kill myself and I'm going to take you with me." And I said, "Yeah." 2 seconds before that, he was sitting right across from me. And as I both looked at him and he looked at me, and I said, "Yeah, you never know what's going on through anyone else's mind." So when you go to judge somebody, you don't know what's going in their mind. And you say that one little thing, and it might just set them off. You don't want to be on the other end of someone who is, you were looking at them and they look perfectly fine, but inside they are screaming to get out of their body. And they may end up taking you with them. Let it go. Not important. Or you could just say, hello. Whenever I walk in the stores, you ever notice when you walk in the stores, people spend more energy trying to get away from each other. Oh, let's get away from, or they see you coming. They're like, oh shit, I might have to have some interaction with them. You know what I do? I walk right up by them and go, hello, how are you? And they go, oh, fine, how are you? You may have helped them. You may have, but we're not going to know that unless we do it. That one thing might have just, they might have been having a bad day and you said hello because no one else ever does that. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you doing? Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I haven't heard that in years. Say it all the time. How you doing? Good. Cool beans. Cool beans. Yeah. Awesome. Let's change the mood of this world. We can if we wanted to, but we can and we should. So let's not think about doing it anymore. Let's just do it. Let's do something to get a conversation flowing instead of just sitting there guessing. Because you got all these, oh, got all this mental health out there, but they don't do anything about it. Why don't set it in motion? Go out there and do something. Have a conversation. Check on people. See that they're doing okay. Don't just repost it on Facebook because somebody else reposted it. That doesn't help anything. Actually, go out and do it. We are all we have. We are all in this together. Let's help each other and do the right thing and get this place back to what it used to be, what it needs to be, and where we need to go. Stop waiting for everyone else to do it. Let's do it ourselves. We don't need the government's approval to do it. We can do it ourselves. Let's move forward. Let's all be 3.0. And that's what I have to say about that.
Oh, I love that. And it can be a simple smile, simple hello.
Hello.
That could be somebody else's 2.0.
Yeah.
Simply to acknowledge other people.
Right. They could have been a 2.0 that day and turned into a 3.0.
Sure can. Oh, this has been so wonderful, Daniel. People are listening and they want to reach out to you. How should they do that?
Reach out and touch someone. Isn't that an old Bell telephone commercial?
Yeah, we sure do. We must have watched a lot of TV, right?
When we were
in our younger, in our 1.0s.
I did watch a lot of TV. I don't watch so much now, but I did watch a lot of TV. If they want to get a hold of me, they can find me on Facebook, Spirit Medium Daniel. They can find me on YouTube as Spirit Medium Daniel. Or they can go to my website. It's www.spiritmediumdaniel.com. And they can book a reading with me, or if they just need to talk, or I also do a podcast called Beyond the Veil with Daniel Jackson, me. And it's www.beyond-the-veil.com. We talk about spirit. We talk about tarot cards, health and wellness, UFOs, aliens, government and religious control, all that stuff, everything that's out in the world. And we bring them some truth because people need some truth out there. So, yeah, you can pretty much find me anywhere. But Oh, and I'm about to do a new podcast as well. It's going to be called Dead End Stories. Dead End, because dead is not really the end. And it's me and my co-host Mike. Mike, he named it. It's spiritual medium Daniel and extra large Mike. Only because I told him about a T-shirt idea I had that would say, "I'm not an extra large. I'm a medium." Spirit medium Daniel. Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be a show where we're going to take comments and telephone calls and people, and he's going to ask me lots of all the questions about spirit and why we're here, what our purpose is, and all that stuff, and everything about spirit and why we are here, and is death in the end, and all that stuff. We're going to talk about all this stuff. It's going to be the line for that is all the unanswered questions will be answered. So it's going to be a cool thing. So actually happens this coming Monday night. It's going to be a live program. We're going to do it every Monday night. So, but looking forward to that. But yeah, people could find me. But the best way, go to Spirit Medium Daniel on Facebook, and you can find me on there.
And I hope they do, because we just barely touched on this big iceberg of wealth of information. And so I hope that they will go subscribe to your podcast after they've subscribed to this one.
Yeah, come over to my big iceberg, and you can have a big snow cone of me.
That is great. Well, thank you, Daniel, so much. It's been a very intriguing and interesting conversation for me, and I know it's going to be as well for everybody who's listening. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on. I enjoy myself. You and I enjoy ourselves when we talk any other time as well. So this is just getting it out to everyone else. Why should we keep it to ourselves? We should share it with everyone.
Right. Completely agree with that.
Yeah.